Hello and welcome to the release introduction of GridVis 9.2. My name is Sebastian Römer, and together with my colleagues from product management, we like to introduce you to the newest version of GridVis 9.2 over the next few minutes. Here on the first slide, you can see the topics that will be covered today, as well as the names of my colleagues who will presenting each part. So I won't do everything myself. I'm joined here with my colleagues from product management. Before we dive into each of these topics, I'd like to give you a brief overlook over the interim versions between GridVis 9.1 and GridVis 9.2. During last year, we introduced four newer versions, GridVis 9.1.40, which contained the contract files for calculating CO2 emissions, energy equivalents, and costs. So you don't have to go into the virtual device anymore for calculating these energy costs, for example, or CO2 emissions. You have just one place to put in all the data, and GridVis calculates everything on its own. With GridVis 9.1.60, we brought a highly requested feature, which was the dashboard sharing. For sharing dashboards without a GridVis login, so you don't have to have a license of GridVis or a password into GridVis. You can just select each dashboard, choose if you want to share it, copy the link and send it to your colleagues or share it within the intranet and have access to this specific dashboard. With 9.1.80, we improved the creation process of creating new reports with report templates. We introduced some, created some templates on our own so that the customer can use these templates and modify them. Another highly requested feature was the comparison periods for dashboards and reports, where you can compare different time periods of data points within each other. And last but not least, there was the Sankey and KPI object for dashboards and reports, so that you don't have to use the iframe object anymore or older GridVis dashboards to put in Sankeys and KPIs. Now you can use Sankeys and KPIs directly in the new dashboard editor and report editor. With GridVis 9.1.100, we brought some newer system settings, but we will have a look on this later on, more specific. During all of these releases, we brought a lot of IT security improvements. We had an external audit during the last year, and we have done many improvements in this regard concerning IT security stuff, and we will improve on this in the future also. Let's dive into the new features of GridVis 9.2, and we will start with the new metering point management, especially the virtual metering points. This is a partial functionality of the well-known virtual devices. We have identified the most commonly used function of the virtual devices is or was in the past the adding and subtracting measured values to obtain sums of powers and energies. So we wanted to bring this to GridVis Web, and therefore we created these virtual metering points. So it's an application for a quick and uncomplicated summation of energy, power, and current values without using GridVis Desktop. We've built an own user interface for the configuration process and for diagnosis to find errors, because this was something that was very complicated in the past when you're using the virtual devices. We created a new device type. As you've known, the virtual devices were the VDs, and now we created a new device type, the VMPs, the virtual measuring point. Just to make this clear, the existing virtual devices remain unchanged, so you can still use them as you've known them, but you can, on top of that, you will get the virtual measuring points to make this process a little easier in the future. We have a whole list of new functions and benefits you will get out of the virtual measuring points. I would like to pick up two of those. First off, the calculation of different time bases. You will be able to put in different devices and therefore also different recording time bases from these devices that you've configured. And if they differ, the application will calculate the least common multiple and join these values together based on the least common multiple. So you will always get an accurate time base, even if the time bases differ from each device that you use. Another thing is the automatic offsetting. As you know, some of our devices only or on the default settings calculate the active energy drawn and the active energy, or the consumed active energy and the active energy. And sometimes you want to join these two value types, even if they from the GridVis side differ from each other. So we have a functionality to bring these two energy types together and calculate the sum automatically. Before I go on with this list, I would like to show the new functionality here in a short live demo. You will find the metering point management here in the menu in administration, and here metering point management. Then you will find this user interface, and on the left hand side you will see all the virtual metering points that you have created. You add a new virtual metering point, put in a name, you can add a description, and you can choose whether what the fallback value will be if there are absent data points, if you want to leave it empty or fill it with null. In the advanced settings, you can choose if you want to calculate the active energy automatically, as I pointed out before, if the active energy and the consumed active energy should be added automatically, or if you don't want to use this feature. And if you create a new virtual metering point, you have to select the elements you want to put in here. So I choose these 3 devices. You can choose up to 100 devices in one virtual metering point. Click on submit, and then you're done. You don't have to configure anything else in this user interface. The other functionalities you will see here is only for diagnosis. So what happens now is that from these three devices, all the available powers, energies, and currents are automatically summed up, as you can see here for the historic values, and here for the live values when it comes to power. And now you can use this virtual metering point, which is called demo, in dashboards, in reports, in your lists, even in data exports in GridVis Desktop. You can use these and create new dashboards with the total sum that comes out of it. If you click on here, you will see all the different value types that are supported right now. The power and the active energy, or the consumed active energy. One thing I didn't mention is you can choose the calculation mode. So this is a setting that you only can do here, is a configuration part that changes the VMP. If you click on the plus, you this device and all the values that are coming from this device are now subtracted from each other. So if you want to find a specific virtual metering point or find a device within a virtual metering point, you can use the search field over here, where you put in, let's say, the demo. Then you will find first off the virtual metering points, or you put in production, or just the first words, and you will find all the virtual metering points where this device production is included. So in this case, 3 of the 4 virtual metering points have production in it, as you can see here and here and here. Here I created another demo because you're not only allowed to put in devices or real physical devices, you're also allowed to create some sort of nesting where you put in the virtual metering points within a virtual metering point. So in this case, I have an overall VMP created where the virtual metering point level 1 and level 2 is also included here, and the devices within this. You can do this in different levels, so not only on level 1 or in this first level. You can also nest a virtual metering point in this virtual metering point and create some sort of hierarchy within these virtual metering points. This makes it, or the search field makes it much easier to find specific virtual or real devices. In case of an exchange of devices, you just have to search for the name and you will find the device, and then you can just remove this one and add the one that you have exchanged, for example. If there is, I will change back to the presentation. If there is an error or maybe some data missing, you will see in here these error messages where you will find if, or get the information if this consumed active energy isn't supported by this device. For example, if there are no historical values during this time frame that you have selected. So in the past, it was very hard to find the reason why something is missing in your virtual devices or why no value is coming out of it. Now you will find the reason right here in this table with the error message. If there is no live value, if you don't have a connection to the device, if there is no historical value, you can use this interface for selecting time periods and finding the time period where something is wrong or something is missing, because most of the times you just come across something that is missing when you're using the dashboard or a report, and then you have to dig into the virtual devices, or you had to dig into the virtual devices and find try to find the reason for the problem. And now with this user interface, you will find all these information right here. So in short, you are able to create sums and sums and subtractions of different value types, if different values from different devices in a very quick way. Our goal was to create this summation or this addition or subtraction of values within 5 seconds. As I've shown to you, it's very easy to configure something like this in a very short way and get the values summed up. And therefore, it's very easy to diagnose if there is an error and reuse these virtual metering points in different applications as dashboards and reports. Okay, that's it for the virtual metering points, and I would like to hand it over to Leo for the new device manager.
Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen. Hello, everybody. My name is Leo Wolf, and I am here today to cover the device manager, the completely new device manager in our GridVis. The device manager is integrated completely in our GridVis web application from now on, so you do not need the desktop application anymore to integrate and manage your measurement devices in our software. I am going to show you a few of our functional highlights in this presentation before I'm heading over to the live application to demonstrate them further. One of our functional highlights is our device scan in the device manager. The device scan functionality allows you to automatically find and integrate measurement devices that are already configured in your network, so you do not have to type them in individually anymore. There are a few configurations you can take for the device scan, which you can see here are your IP range mask, your scan speed, which changes the requests per second, and your timeout per IP, in case you do not want to take too much time per IP to look for the device and rather quickly go on to the next device. If there are any problems looking or searching for a device, our device manager and the device scan functionality will inform you about any errors. Another highlight is our firmware update functionality. Our firmware update functionality allows you to easily update either one device or also a big number of devices at the same time. For that, you can just upload one of your firmware files to the device manager, and the device manager selects every registered device that you have that can profit from this firmware file. This is what you can see on the right here in the screenshot. And from there on, you can select either every device or select a few devices that you want to update, configure a few upgrade options, and then hit the upgrade button, and the software does the rest for you. And you would just wait for it all to be over. the functionality also gives you feedback on that, whether your update has been successful, or if there are a few devices that couldn't be updated for some reason. You get visual feedback for all of that. Lastly, one of the highlights is your ability to search and filter your device list. Because after some time, your device list can be really big. There can be thousands of devices in there, and you need proper functionalities to filter them or to look for specific devices that you want to manage. First of all, there's a free text input function, which you can use to type in device names, device types, IP addresses, parts of the description of your device, or anything else that you can think of to identify your device. Also, to have a more static approach, you can use the filter option that you can see here on the screenshot to filter for various parameters within your device list and shrink it down. All right, from here on, I want to jump over into the live application to demonstrate the device manager live. As you can see, this is our new device manager in the GridVis web, and here we have listed all of our registered devices. You can find the device manager by going into administration and hit device manager right here. Now, if you want to add more devices, you click just that button. You select the project that you want to add your devices to. And you can either choose the manual registration, which we already know from our previous device manager, but I want to showcase the scan option. Over here, I can type in an IP address. As you can see, I'm not typing in the full address because I want to leave some space and have the application scan for every device in that network. I leave the other options untouched and hit scan. As you can see, quickly we have scanned for these devices. That would be 16 right here. And from here on, I can click add device to add them directly to our device list, or optionally also change a few configurations for that device if I want to, but I don't have to. The other feature would be our firmware update, which you can find in the top right corner over here. This is where I can choose a firmware file that I downloaded previously. I upload the firmware file and I find every device that could be upgraded using that firmware file. I can either select all of the devices or select specific devices if I do not want to update every single one of them. From here on, I hit the update button and all of the selected devices are going to be updated. Lastly, the search function. As you can see, there are a lot of elements in my list right now, but if I want to find a specific one, I can either type in a device type, which filters the list. I can type in a name of my device to find all of them. I can type in IP address parts if I have any devices in there in that address, and so on. And I can use all of these parameters over here that you see to look for. I can also type in serial numbers and get only these devices. As shown in the presentation before, there is also the filter option over here, which I can use to filter down that list even more. This is it for the device manager. Thank you very much. And I would like to hand it over to Fabian Schäfer now. You're muted.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Fabian Schäfer. Today I want to show you the new function of export for the electricity tax refund in the GridVis, which will be available with the version 9.2. First of all, what is it? The new functionality is a very special part for German law. It's a law where you are, as a company of production, you can get back an amount of money which you spend on the electricity consumption from the electric grid. So for the international part, I would quickly jump over through this because it's very strict to the German laws. Generally, it's a calculation of amount of energy which you consumed in a specific period of time. So what we do here, there's a bigger process behind this law and this application for electricity tax refunds. So it must be transmitted via an online formula, and you have a lot of information you have to give over. And during this process, there is a point where you need to calculate all your amount of energy you consumed from the electrical grid in an amount of time, and this is the part the GridVis takes over. So in the GridVis, we have in the reports a new functionality where you can switch over to data exports, and where you can choose a data export for this energy tax application. And in this energy tax application, there's some step-by-step configuration of this data export. So you can add a report, you can switch over to the data exports, you can open this tax report, and then you can quickly go through that configuration. You can choose a time span and year. You can go on by checking some devices. So you see here the devices, and you align them with a specific use case where what they are measuring. And after this, you give in your amount of energy which is written on the invoice from your grid. So let's say, for example, here given a number, you can add much more invoices. You can switch to the invoices with quarterly or monthly invoices. All this is then automatically calculated. You get an at the end, you get an overview what you have configured, and after this, you have to choose where the data export should be saved. And you can choose between an Excel or a PDF file. So the Excel creates an Excel sheet with an overview page and some additional pages. The PDF file creates different documents, because when you now take a look what is created, it created an overview with all the amount of energy which is consumed and which is able to be refunded and what is not refundable. So let's take a look in an example of the Excel. So you see here an overview of all the refundable amount of energy for the paragraph 9a. Then you get the information, the same information for the paragraph 9b, and also you get information which amount of energy is not refundable, because there are some reasons, for example, e-mobility or third-party supplies. These are not able to be, or they are not refundable, so they have to be they have to be calculated that they are not in the whole amount, and this is the part that just take over and calculate the final amount which is able to be refunded. and you can copy this this value here out of the file directly into the online online file. And also you get here an overview at addition that you can upload there also as files, then the same as you get when you choose the PDF export. So this is a very this is also available in the standard version. So with the new GridVis, you get also the part of the reports available in the standard, but only for this specific report is it usable. And you can also see the reports you created in the GridVis desktop then in the list of the reports in the GridVis web. The second point I want to show you is a new object created. It's an object specifically for energy management. We named it change and difference. So this is the comparison table we created as a new object. You can connect, or you can choose a time frame where you want to show, or from which time frame you want to have the values. You can use different comparison periods. You can choose the devices, of course, you want to compare with each other. And then the object uses the different times, so the basic time and the comparison time, and shows you the difference between those two time frames, and shows you the difference as a nominal term, and also shows you the difference with a percentage. And you are able to put in there some limits, and depending on the limit and the values which are calculated, you can get a color. It looks like shown here on the next slide. So here's an example for four different devices. You have the time periods here. You see the difference, percentual difference, and you see that when in this case, when it's lower than the basis period, the comparison period, then it gets green. When it's a little bit higher, it's yellow or red, orange, and when it's bigger it's bigger amount of energy consumed, then it gets red. And this is also all configurable. This is an example where you have the possibility to compare up to four devices, and the time periods are without restriction. You can change that object that you have a fixed amount of time periods. In this case, 12 time periods you can compare, but then you are able that you can choose much more devices, so without restriction. So depending only on the window on the size of the object, it can choose the amount of devices. So when I jump into the application itself, in the dashboards, I have here an example for the dashboards because it's available in the dashboards and also in the reports. And in this example here, I can show you that you can configure here as an object. For the object, you can configure here the data sources or the devices you want to compare. It's the same for the second visualization. You can set the aggregation, time aggregation, or should be used for the energy. You can set the time, of course, and then you have the comparison period. If you want to compare it with 1 week or one year before, it's very good, for example, to create a yearly overview per month that you can compare per month the difference between last year and the current year, or the last 2 years, for example, so that you can directly show and see what is the difference on how my energy consumption is going, and if it's more or less than the last year. And in the graph settings, you can here swap the columns and rows. So this is the functionality where you can differ between the alignment to show the devices and or compare 4 devices or compare much more devices, but only with a restricted number of time periods. And you can set, of course, here the thresholds or the highlighting of the different values depending on the height of the numbers. So this is this object is available in the edition expert. So this is only an object we provide in the expert edition for the dashboards and for the reports. So, but with the expert edition, you can easily choose it as soon as you update it to version 9.2. The last point I want to show you is what Sebastian mentioned in the beginning, that we updated the system settings. This was already available in the version 9.1.102, so the version before 9.2. We have updated the system settings with the view, so we updated also the navigation. The past, we have this system info and the system settings where in another point where now are the user settings. We updated here the specifically the front end. The features are nearly the same. We added some smaller new features. One Søren will show you a little bit later. But all the different configurations you could have made in the old view are now available in the new view with a much better usability and a much easier overview. So you have here the user settings. In the past, there were the old system settings also as a submenu. Now we we put everything together into the new system settings here as a new menu entry. And in this menu entry, you have, for example, the overview of the server settings. For example, if you want to change the base URL, the main project, you can easily click here to make the changes. You can save it. What is new is, for example, here the proxy settings. In the past, this was only available in the GridVis desktop. We now made it available in the GridVis web. You can activate a proxy. You can configure the values for the proxy. And in a lot of in some configuration, you have here a new button for testing your configuration. So you put in your proxy, you put in your username, password for the proxy, and you can test if the configuration is correct. And the GridVis directly from this part checks the proxy configuration, checks the connectivity, and sees if the configuration is right. The same in the email configuration. So you can here send a test email, but when you go in the configuration, you can test directly the mail server settings. So when you configure the SMTP server and the login, when you don't have a login, it only checks if the connection is available. When you put in username and password, it also checks if the login can be done. So you get a direct feedback if something is wrongly configured or the server is not available. You get information here directly in the overview in the UI. If you've done everything correct. Yeah, so same here. The status email you can configure. It's like in the past. The email logging can be configured if something more needs to be inspected more. We now have here a submenu for the projects. So you can jump into projects. You see here a green dot. The projects are loaded. The project's okay. When you now add a new project here, and the project is added, it's first in the orange or in the yellow state when it's loading, and when something is wrong and you have an error, it gets red. So you have here some status light that a small status if the projects are okay in the GridVis. And you can configure here the different parts for the specific projects in the GridVis web. We now have also a new point in the menu. It's called security. So we moved all the security functionalities in one submenu, and this could be in the future. There's possibility that we add here some more configurations, like Sebastian said, as we're taking a deeper look into the security options of the GridVis. We have here much more changes in the future. So, for example, here's you can upload the SSL certificate for the HTTPS configuration, and we have here the point with the extended security. This point is very important for dashboards, because in dashboards and some objects you can use code, and with that code you put in there, there's a possible door for attacks. So if you use that more external, it should be, it's more recommended to enable this extended security, that the code you put in there will be not used by the GridVis, so it will be blocked. So you have much more security, but when you use it internally, you can disable it to use the code to make specific visualizations or specific uses of the dashboard. And the last point is the system info. So we had the system info as a submenu here in the past, and now we moved over the submenu also here in the system settings. So you have the system information. You can find here, for example, the error report. Also, you can download the error report here, so it's only an update of the visualization, and we only have new points like the overview of the third-party licenses, which is necessary by law. We added here, and we have a new health center where Søren will give you more look into it, what it is. So these are now moved here in the system settings. This is the overview of the new system settings, and that's my part, and I hand over to my next colleague.
Thank you, Fabian. Let me quickly share my screen. Yes, we are continuing now with the topic databases, to be precise, with the Azure SQL database. Now also available Microsoft Cloud database. There's not that much to show you, but now you can also select it here when you want to configure your database. Let me give you some words about that. Overall, maybe as a note, I also wrote it down there. The support and the migration guides that are available, they are good for Microsoft. So if you decided now to want to have a cloud-based database, now you can use the Azure database. Everything is configurable, it's tested, it works very good. If you haven't done that before, if it's depending on how much knowledge is there, you can either go then to the Microsoft-based guides, or you can also then contact us. There are some things maybe you need to take care of. For example, where this database is actually located. Yes, it's a cloud database, but the physical machine has to stand somewhere too. So you need to make sure that the latency is not too big, because maybe they are on different continents, your GridVis service and this database. Or other things also, if you want to configure the user management system or stuff like that. So just that, but guides are available, support is available, and now you can also have your cloud-based database. So short for that, we're gonna stay with on the topic database. My colleague Fabian already told you, yes, we have a health center. Let me just jump here. As he said, in the system settings, in the system info, we can find the health center. Yes, it's for SQL project. So if you don't have a SQL project or it's not selected, you will see this screen. If we change to an SQL database, you will see this. This is overall an information for you if you want to check your health status of your database. Okay, how old is the data? What's the latency? Like I said here, also interesting to see. We gave it a bit of a color coding to give like a little baseline to see, okay, is it more good, bad, neither? And also just like for details, the long running SQL queries that you can see, okay, what is actually going on in my database? This can then either help you to determine, okay, what to do next, like with little like tips, okay, what needs to be done, or also easy then just to make a screenshot from that site, and you can also send it to our support in case there are problems. This will also then help. Overall, it only loads one time when you open it, and if you then want to have the latest data, you can press here refresh, and then it's loading again. So it's not doing anything against your performance here, because some things are rather costly. That's for our health center. Our next topic is then the database. We stay at database, it's database stability we improved. We changed the index of our database, and it aimed for the speed improvement. In this case, for MySQL, you can see it here. So our goal was to get better at the write, read, and delete function. You can see now here, and this is actually the one we're releasing now. It is faster in writing, it is way faster in reading, and it's also way faster in deleting. So there was major improvement. We achieved that also with the clustered index. In case you're curious here about the details, this only counts for new databases. So if you are currently operating and you think, okay, I would like to improve like my read and delete speed because it's for various reasons. You know, we can see maybe it's in the health center you find a solution, maybe here, database, complex topic. But coming with the 9.20, you won't have that change, that migration from to clustered index immediately. You have to do it yourself. The migration can be depending on the database. You need to take care. You need to take a look at it. It can take a while. It also will block maybe parts of your GridVis. And that's why we don't do it per default to everybody. But you have the chance also, if needed with support from us, you can then change to clustered index to also have those improvements. Yeah, but that big thing only then for new databases with a clustered index. Going to the next slide, this is now for MySQL. You can see our measurements here. For MS SQL, it also works. But the thing maybe you see right at the very beginning, for the write time actually increased with this clustered index, but the read and the delete time is decreased by a lot. For us, that's a trade-off. The time that you want to read something large amount, that you want to delete large amounts, and then you have to wait for it, happens way more often that you want to write something, and then this is then the thing that's blocking something. And due to that fact, the reading and the delete option, the action is more important, and that's why it's more important here for us to have a load time, and then this is here for us, okay. But just as you know, for full transparency. Leaving the database topic, going to the Janitsa ID server, I would like to introduce you to the item storage. So the item storage, what happened here? Let me just quickly jump here. So you have your Janitsa ID, you have your licenses, and now with the item storage, it's possible that you can store items you bought. Then they are not influenced by the time that they will be deactivated, so the update period. What does it mean in this case? Okay, so here I have my license. I have 150 items in use. I'm not a real power user here. And then I have here my item storage, and I can see, okay, I can deactivate items here. And let's say, I want to deactivate 5 items. I submit this, and then those items are deactivated. What does it mean? That means they are not influenced by the expiration time. And due to that, you can also buy with maybe within the budget plan a large amount of, or a larger amount that you don't use right now, items, and also then the items physically, the devices. And then you can just store them and they don't expire. You know, of course they don't expire then if it's physical objects, but here also they're not influenced by the expiration time. And then when you need them, you can all then say, okay, I want to activate my items again. You can say, oh, you know, no, I have 15 new devices that I want to put into my GridVis project. So activate all of my items here. It will calculate it for you. Okay, 25 new items in total. What's the new expiration time? And my new item storage. Okay, it's empty. I used up then all of my items. I can also submit that. And then I have all the items back then in my active project, and then I can use them. So yes, then it can happen that if you have a lot of items in your item storage, and you run out of items, but then you can also see in the information, okay, you run out of active items, of free items, but you have some in the item storage. Or if you also run out of them, then obviously there's also then the option to buy more items. Yep, so with that you can also buy larger bundles and profit then from that. This works for the normal standard and expert. This does not work for the free essentials. Here we don't count the items, so no influence here. That hasn't changed. And also if you have a test license, this is then also not available here in that case. And then from that side, I would like to give back to my colleague Sebastian.
Thank you, Sören. We have one last feature we would like to show you. This is the export of a list. In the GridVis 9.1, we introduced a big update to the list functionality in GridVis, and we improved on this with this update right here, because one of the highly requested features was the need of exporting one of the lists that you've created in the past in a CSV file, and that's what we we have done with GridVis 9.2. So now it's possible to export via this menu item the currently loaded list into a CSV file, and by this it's in the way that what you see is what you get. So if if you have opened a list with live values, with CO2 emissions, with costs, and so on, everything that you're seeing on the screen within the moment you press the button, you will export in a CSV file. I will show you this here in GridVis in the demo. So here we have this this list with the different costs of the energy in different columns here, and the CO2 emissions, and this is from different time periods. If I go on and click here and export the list as a CSV file, you see it gets downloaded automatically. And then if you open it with, for example, Excel or with a code editor where you have the real CSV file, you will see the data that is exported right here. If you're looking at historical values, you see two new columns that have been added here. So in the GridVis web version, you have the information from which time period this, in this case, the costs or the euros are in regard to. But in the CSV file, we had to add the start and end time for this for this value, so that you know from which time period this value is calculated. And if you go into this editor, you have the raw data in an unformatted way. The same happens if you open a list with live values in it. And as I mentioned, if you click on the export list right here, it will export the data that is in the list within the moment I clicked on that button. I think it's a very handy function for exporting all the lists that you've created in the past, and you don't have to modify them. You just open them up with GridVis 9.2, and this button right here is available to you. We have to thank you for your attention for the last hour, where we introduced all these new features from GridVis 9.2. One thing that is open is when will this be released? We are currently in the beta phase, so you can download all of these. You can download the beta that is available at our website, and the planned release date is the 9th of April. So we are all looking forward to this day when all of this can be used by all of our customers. We thank you for the attention, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.